Welcome, it's a great day to be a miner. This beautiful little thing here is the Bitaxe Gamma, and as you can see, it has been equipped. We're gonna overclock the crap out of this thing today, and we're gonna see just how far we can push it. But first, let's spin that intro. And here it is. This is the Bitaxe Gamma, the latest and greatest from the Bitaxe line. This thing boasts 1.2 terahash on only like 18 to 20 watts. But the problem was that the stock cooling solution that came with this thing just kept overheating, and even just on the default settings, it would overheat, it would shut down, you'd have to go back into AxeOS, you reset it, you get it going again. So in my previous video, I put this mega super crazy ridiculous cooler on here. This is an Argon thermal cooler. If you're interested in pick one of these up, I'll put links down in the description. And of course, check out the full in-depth video on the installation. It wasn't as easy and straightforward as I had hoped because the wiring actually didn't match the Pi 5 because this is designed for a Raspberry Pi. Long story short, we got it on there, we got it working, it's humming along now. And now that it's cranking, well, we want to overclock it. We want to overclock it till it can't overclock no more. We want to see how far we can push this guy, how many terahash we can get out of it, how many extra gigahash we can push this thing, and how much power it'll take. But before we do that, you might notice this guy sitting over here. This is an Ice River KSO Pro Special Caspa Edition, and I've got a few of these, and I was in the hobbyist Discord today, and we were talking, and we were like, you know what, there's not a lot of great home miners right now, so let's add this to our giveaway pile. We cleaned this thing up, went ahead and cleaned off the overclocks. We brought it back down to stock, and we're going to take all of it out of there, and we're going to add it to our giveaway pile. Let's talk about today's giveaway, the key phrase that you need. You need to like and subscribe to the channel, and then lastly, you need to put a key phrase down in the comments of this, and then at the end of the week, we will draw one lucky US resident, US only, we're sorry. And if you don't know what giveaway I'm talking about, check out the first video up above. It goes over and shows all the loot, well, most of the loot. There's actually quite a bit more than is in the video. And we're picking 10 plus users from each video to give away all this random stuff and get it out of here because we are giving back this holiday season. Today's key phrase is altered Doge. 2 words, altered Doge. Say it with me now, altered Doge. Put that down in the comments and make sure that you are a US citizen, US address. We are not shipping it to a PO box, and it needs to be a US address. So yeah, happy hunting, good luck to all of you entries, and if you don't win on this video, make sure to be tuned in for the next video. We're doing this for 4 straight weeks starting this Friday. We will give away everything that we showed and plus some. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's get back into this guy and to the overclocks. Let's first go over what it's currently doing just as it is, as it sits right here. It was getting up to over 70C, the Asic chip, and then it would shut itself down. Right now it is doing 1.1, actually 1100 gigahash, which is 1.1 terahash, and it's doing it on 18 watts, and that's at the device itself, not at the wall. You'll add a couple of watts for the power supply inefficiency. So now the temperature is 45C. And that's at 1.1 terahash at the low 17 watts. So there you go. That's what we are at stock. We'll note down our numbers, but let's jump over into our session on AxeOS and let's start overclocking this thing. We'll look at the default settings and then we'll slowly ramp this thing up and we'll see just exactly how much we can get out of this. So without further ado, let's get over there. All right, so first and foremost, here we are. We're over in our AxeOS main dashboard, and you can see our hash rate is currently about 1.1 terahash. It's 1088 gigahash out of the 1215 gigahash expected. Shares, it's killing it at 23,000 with only 200 rejected shares. It shows our efficiency, and it shows the difficulty. And then, of course, you get the nice, consistent graph where it's showing all of your hash rate over a long period of time, over a 24-hour period of time, rather. Down in the corner, it's showing us the amount of power being used at 18.6 watts, 4.8 volt, blah, blah, blah. But over here is what's important. Let's move me out of the way. And right down here in the corner, this ASIC temperature, 41.5 C. That's the chip that was getting up over 70 C, and then it would shut itself down. And then it's down below, it actually shows the fan speed's only 35%. We'll move it up a little bit so we can see it. The fan speed, 35%, and the RPM's at 3170. So now, we want to change it. We want to clock this thing up. We want to try to see how much we can push it, because obviously we're not pushing it if it's only 42C. I do have a little bit of a pause looking at the voltage regulator temperature. It's already at 66C when the ASIC temperature is only at 40C. So that may be something we need to keep an eye on. But okay, so now we're over in our settings, and we can see all of our fun set up here, but what we care about is only, we're going to mess with the frequency and the core voltage, these two fields. So let's blow this up so that we can better get a view of this. Okay, so this is what we care about, the frequency and the core voltage. As you can see, I have the frequency as set to default. Now, with this specific model, I could not get the frequency, when I kept the frequency at default, it would not run above 800 gigahash because it was starving. It wasn't getting enough voltage. So then I went ahead and moved up the voltage just one click. So I'm technically already slightly overclocked because I'm not overclocked on my frequency, but I did have to actually push up my voltage just to make my stock frequency work. So again, I don't know how far we'll be able to push it because there's only one more voltage setting to go up. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll switch the frequency, and you only have 2 more clicks by the default dashboard to go up on this thing. So we'll go up 1 click, we'll see if the voltage will run it, and then if it will, then we'll go up 2 clicks, and then if it won't run it well, then we'll click the voltage to go up as well. Ideally, we'll be able to go 625 on our frequency, and we'll go 1250 on our core voltage, and we'll just see exactly how well this thing will do. Again, that voltage regulator heat gives me a little pause, and the fact that we can't move these up very far also means that we might not have as much headroom as I had hoped, but I digress. Let's go ahead and bump this up 1 for the frequency, and then we'll save it, we'll restart it, and we'll see what we can get out of it. So after you change any of your items here, your frequency, core voltage, you want to hit save, and then in the top left, you want to go ahead and hit restart to restart your device to get your fresh settings in there. And then we're gonna let it hash for a little while, and we're gonna see what the hash rate looks like. So let's go. Okay, so here we are back in our AxeOS, and as you can see, everything's changed. We went ahead and updated our firmware, and we updated our website GUI as well. So we'll show you how to do those in the next video. But we went ahead and updated that, and we went through a plethora of different settings and tried different things just to try to get the optimal hash rate. And what we're running right now is our optimal hash rate. It's not the most hash rate we could push. We'll go over all those nerdy numbers here in just a second, and we made a nice little spreadsheet. But this is the optimal for our device. It's running really well, and it's we can pull down and look at our metrics down here at the bottom. We've got power at only 18 watts. We're running 575 on our frequency, 1.18 volts, so it probably shows 1.2. And then our temperatures are showing really well. The ASIC temperature clear down at 31 to 32C. The voltage regulator is holding steady at 63. We did make a modification we'll show you in a bit. And our fan speed's only staying at 35% because the ASIC temps are not really heating up much. So So yeah, let's go take a look at our settings, and then we'll look at our nerdy numbers. Okay, so here's what we settled on. We settled on 575 frequency and a core voltage of 1200. That's one click over the default on the frequency and one click on the over the default on the core voltage. Now let's go look at the actual full list of the numbers on the nerdy spreadsheet, and we'll talk about our different results and testing. Alright, so here it is. This is our nerdy numbers, our spreadsheet. First and foremost, we just started out testing as is. We didn't update the firmware. We didn't update the website GUI. With the new cooler, the ASIC temperatures always stayed between 32C and 44C, regardless of how far we pushed them. And if you need any of these, you can go ahead and pause the video, take a screenshot, and compare your numbers in case you need to do any of the overclocking as well. So the ones that are marked red were ones that were failing. They were run, but they were running way below what they should, way below expected, and that was usually due to the ASIC chip is starving. It's not getting enough power, so then you have to step the power up to make it run on this specific frequency. So first and foremost, we did 5 tests. We did 596 on the frequency, 610, 625. We tried different voltages of 1150, 1200, 1250. And then here are the corresponding hash rates. Some of these are a little skewed. These bottom couple, we didn't let them run really long enough to get an accurate depiction. It stated 1330 and 1328. Those probably would have settled down slightly below that, more around probably 1280, 1250 to 1280 most likely. And then you can see the wattage increases as we move up the core voltage. The voltage regulator kept showing as you would turn up the power, it really would heat up pretty significantly, in my opinion. It was showing clear up to 77C when we would have the voltage turn up to 1250, which made me a little nervous. So then we added a couple copper heat sinks to the back of the Mosfets. We'll show you that when we go to close out, just to try to cool it off a little. It did help just slightly, not very significantly. We ordered some new aluminum heat sinks that we're going to stick on the front of the board as well to try to cool down that regulator. So then for the second wave, after we finished that testing, we went ahead and added those heat sinks, and we retested a bunch of numbers again with the heat sinks on there. And as you can see, we kind of jumped around on the numbers a little bit. And again, the red are signifying that it was not running anywhere near what it should be running, and that again was generally due to it starving, not getting enough power. So with the heat sinks, the MOSFETs, the voltage regulator wasn't getting as hot. The hottest it actually topped out was 69 rather than 77. So we did shave 8C off of there with our ambient temps, which was pretty solid. So happy with a little bit of a reduction. But we started thinking, you know, this still isn't really ideal. So then we went and updated the Axe firmware, and we updated the website GUI as well. This is the newer GUI that goes along with the updated website. So there is that. So after we updated the firmware and the website, we retested again with a lot of the numbers, and again you can see the 525, 1150, which are both the defaults, would not run a normal hash rate. It was actually starving the chip, so we had to bump it up. We did some testing, and we got some better numbers. Our best numbers was on the 610, 1250, which is kind of to be expected. The 625, 1250 wouldn't run this round. It just kept dropping and dropping. So we went ahead and made one more wave. We started thinking, okay, so now we've got all this testing in. What if hypothetically, what if the chips need to be warmer to get a better hash rate? And this is kind of common in some ASICs, especially like Ice Rivers, the KSOs, all those variants. When they're too low in the power, they actually are too cool, and the chips aren't heating up, and they actually don't hash to their full potential. So we went ahead and we're going to, let's heat these things up. So we turned the fan off of auto fan, which always stays around 35 to 40% with this massive cooler. we turned it off of autofan and we set it to clear down to 20%, just a static 20% fan. And then we retested again just to see if we would get a better hash rate. And honestly, it didn't change. It didn't change much at all. So at least we eliminated that as a thing. The hash rate with the temperature maybe barely slightly changed. But man, look how hot the voltage regulator was getting with the fan only on 20%. And that's what that's telling me, is that fan and heatsink are actually providing a slight bit of cooling on that voltage regulator on the front of the board. So after we tested that, we really didn't get any gains. We went and found the optimal hash rate for our Bitaxe Gamma is set to 575 frequency, 1200 on the voltage, and that was giving us a consistent 1170, 1180, which is 1.17, 1.18 terahash, running only 17.8 watts. And the key point that we went with this, rather than going with a higher frequency, is the ASIC temperature, or the voltage regulator temperature, the entire temperature of the entire setup, and the consistency of how well it's running. So we've had no drops in 8 hours, 8+ hours, and it is just staying nice and cool and in that range. So yeah, our goal was basically to get this thing the most efficient we could, keep the heat down, make sure that it's running very consistent, which it is at this setup, and then we just let it hash, let it go, let it go, let it go, and hopefully someday it brings a block. But we want zero maintenance, and we want this thing 100% uptime, and that's what we're trying to achieve, and that's what we're achieving right here. This is the optimal settings for our specific Bitaxe Gamma. Of course, your results may vary. Silicon lottery, some chips are better than others. You might be able to say run 610 frequency on only 1200 voltage. And then, you know, that would obviously be getting you more hash rate at the same power, essentially. So that would be a more optimal solution for you. Okay, so yeah, here it is. It's hashing away. It just had some weird spike here. An odd thing about the AxeOS website, so if you switch to the settings tab and then you jump back to the dashboard, you're going to lose your history on your graph, which is no big deal, but then it kind of skews your results. I had probably hundreds of different data points on this chart, which are not there now because I switched off the tab and I came back. But as you can see, the shares 5234 to only 24 rejected. That means everything's running. It's running well. Current hash rate 1.34. It expects 1.17. Power's only running just under 18 watts. So yeah, ASIC temperature 35 and voltage regulators bumped up to 64, but that's still really good. So let's go close this thing out.
Well, there you have it. We've got the Bitaxe. We did tons and tons of testing. We did the full overclocking so that you don't have to, and we got to show you our results. And just real quick, here is the Mammoth cooler on there, and on the back we put just a couple of small copper heat sinks right here. The same copper heat sinks that we actually use on our Ice River mods. They're just, I believe they're like a 5x5 little copper square with like only like a 4 or 5 millimeter height, and that's just what we've always used on these guys, so we had extra laying around, so I put 2 of them on the back of this heat regulator right here, this Mosfet. But on the front of the board, right underneath of here, is really warm where that voltage regulator is. So what we're going to do in the future, we ordered some new aluminum heatsink kit, and we're just going to stick an extra little aluminum heatsink right there, and that should help dissipate the heat just a little bit. And hey, if it helps 3-4 degrees, then that's just going to make this thing work longer, less heat, less problems down the road. So yeah, I was really hoping that we could push this thing up to about 1.4, 1.5 terahash, and that it would just run consistently. But unfortunately, it just doesn't have the headroom. There's not, you can't push the voltage enough to push it up significantly. And so when you move the frequency up, you run out of voltage to push up. If it gave us a couple more voltage settings and we could push it a little more and we could cool that voltage regulator, then we definitely could get more hash rate. but they're just trying to protect the device, and so they don't actually give us that further headroom. So yeah, there it is. If you have any questions, comment down below. I'd be happy to help you. And if you like the video, you know what to do. Smash that like button and subscribe for future content. Thanks for coming along and enjoy the ride. That's really impressive that that chip is, fan, don't put fingers in fans. Yeah.